Can you imagine being told that you couldn't do the things you had planned for your life because you had disabilities? Now, can you imagine your teachers who are supposed to empower you and train you for the future tell you that? Well, that's exactly the case for today's guest, and she went on to prove everybody wrong. So stay tuned for Abounding and Alive. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Abounding and Alive podcast. My name is Becky, and I am back with another fantastic guest. Again, not to toot my own horn, but I absolutely love these guests that I've been booking on my show because they have very inspiring stories. And this one is no different. She's a writer, a speaker, a photographer, and a paraeducator. And she was told that she was never going to go to college. And yet, she defeated those odds, the naysayers, and she did just that and more. So my guest today is named Michelle, and I can't wait to introduce you to her. Hello.
Hello.
So as I'm reading your bio again, I'm thinking like, who on earth are these people that would dare tell you something like that?
A lot of them were professionals in the field around learning disabilities. Some of
What?
them were learning support teachers. Some of them were even college professors. I even had a psychiatrist. So there was a lot of people that were saying those things.
I just keep thinking like, I've got kids, I've got teenage girls, and I'm
Hmm.
thinking like I don't want to limit them or put them in a box by saying you
Right.
can't do might my kids might not be the best at everything, but then I try to like I have one who's not is not great in school, but is an amazing artist and the kindest person you'd ever meet. And
Hmm.
so we really try and push like, hey, if college is your jam, if you want to do that, like let's try and get you art scholarships, like things like that to try and push her to still feel like she's going to do what everyone else is doing.
Right. I think that's so important to really be able to push in that direction of
Yeah.
where the child is good at and also where their interests are too. Because if their heart isn't in it, then
Yeah,
it's going to be really difficult for them and they may not
literally.
succeed, or they might end up resenting the one that told them to go take that program anyways.
I think for, people who are around our
Mhm.
age, like it was a big push to go to college, right?
Mhm.
And are you in the States? Remind me again.
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Yes. Okay. So I'm finding that the States, there is a huge push to go to college. And maybe less so where I am in Alberta because it's like a big trades thing. So if you want to not go to college, you want to go to trades, great. But I know there is a big push, especially for people our age, to go to post-secondary school. But it's like there's something about the idea of, let's say, getting pushed into accounting when you really don't want to be an accountant. You hate numbers.
Right. Oh, exactly. And I had somewhat of a different experience because of my learning disability. People thought, well, you should go to a trade school because you're not going to be able to go to college. And I
Wow.
went into looking at the
Wow.
trade school, and none of the programs interested me. And
No.
some of them would have been even harder to do with having the
L-
disability.
Yeah,
So
literally.
I decided college was the best route for me. And I think that it's so important that we really lean into what does the person want? Because I even will talk to students that I'll ask them, "Oh, what are you going to be doing?" or "What are your plans after
Mhm.
when they're ready to graduate?" Now, I've had some that have said, "Well, I'm going to go to this disability college. I don't have
Oh.
any interest in it, but that's where everybody wants me to go." And I'm
Hmm.
always thinking that I would really rethink that because no matter if you go to school or college or if you go to a trade school, there are programs that can help and there are ways to be an advocate for yourself. And I think it's just, I love seeing that with a lot of the older students. I just love seeing where they're going to go. And I just can't wait to see how that works out for them.
Yeah. I can't understand
Mhm.
people wanting to put you in a box.
Yeah.
What is it? I can't even think of what animal it is, but I mean, if they live in a small space, they're only going to grow to a small size. The bigger the
Exactly.
space,
Mhm.
the bigger they grow. It's like I just don't understand what goes on in people's heads telling you. So I'm sure you heard it a lot then, right? Like, you're not going to do
Yeah.
this, you're not going to do that. How about tell me what I'm really good at instead of telling me what I'm not good at?
Exactly. If people would have really honed in on what I was good at, it would have made that a lot easier for me. But I
Yeah.
was really lucky. I had parents that really did know what I was good at and
Mhm.
really encouraged that.
That's
Yeah.
amazing because I think a lot of parents do just hear what the
Hmm.
doctors say, the professionals say,
Yeah.
and go, okay, well, that's it. Like, we're seeing a big push right now for kids with autism. And a lot
Exactly.
of these parents are wrapping up their entire identities in it. Well, instead of just talking only about how your child has autism, let's talk about all the amazing things that your kid does. Like, I I'm really
Yep.
having a hard time right now with parents because I see it and I'm like frustrated with them because I honestly think you're just limiting your child's potential by putting them in this box.
Right, because there's so many things. Everybody has something that they're good at and something that they
Yeah.
like to do. And for me, that was reading and writing. My dad read me a
Mm,
story every night when I was little.
I
And
love
then in second or third grade, he found a story about a dinosaur that I wrote. And he said, "Wow, this is really good."
that.
And up to that point, I didn't think I was good at anything because I was really struggling. I mean, my
Mhm.
hand coordination skills were hard. So any kind of sport or gym class was difficult. It
Mm,
was hard for me to learn in school, especially with math. And then when my dad finally found that one area I was good at, and then reading and writing became my world. And those are just things I love to do. And whenever when I'm engaged in those activities, I don't feel like I have a disability. I feel empowered.
yes. I remember growing up, there was this commercial, and I do believe it was on
Mhm.
Canadian stations only,
Okay.
but it was all these kids. One was doing magic, one was making dinosaur noises, one was cooking, one was whatever. And I remember the little catchphrase of it, nobody's good at everything, but everybody's good at something. And it was like directed to children, of course, because we all were
Yeah.
raised on TV. And so it was like a commercial all the time. You're good at something. And
Yep.
it was cool because, it taught us at a time when, I mean, we're certainly not as open-minded as the world is now, but back then, where it was like,
Right.
if I'm not good at math and writing and whatever, reading, then I'm literally gonna amount to nothing. So it was trying to push into that, and I think it kinda led into this more open-minded space that we have now,
Exactly.
or integrative space that we have now. Wow. Okay. So you're a writer, you're a speaker, you're a photographer, you're a paraeducator. Like, tell me how you got into all this. So you got to college, then what?
Well, one of those things that definitely got me, when I got to college, I knew I wanted to work with kids in a school, but
Mhm.
I knew it was going to be difficult for me. So I went to community college and I found a program that was I working with kids. It was an early childhood education.
Mm.
And I ended up getting my associate's degree in that because I knew I wanted to be in the classroom. But I also knew that becoming a teacher with all those tests would have been really difficult for me.
Mhm.
So that was when I decided that I wanted to do that. I went to a college fair for students with disabilities, and our community college was one of the ones that was on there that had
Oh, wow.
the accommodations and the program that I loved. And when I got there, it was really difficult there for me. I can
Mhm.
remember just there was a stigma both
Yeah,
using accommodations. There was people on campus, both staff and faculty, that thought that using them was cheating. And
of course.
I didn't want to use, I remember asking for a calculator, and the professor told me, well, we don't use calculators, we use our brains. And
Okay.
people were thinking that if you got a extra time on a test that you were getting the answers,
Yes.
and because of that, I didn't want to have that stigma. So I didn't use the accommodations initially. And that was a really big mistake for me because my
Mhm.
grades dropped even more. And I
Mm.
can remember I was really struggling in this one class, and I was talking to the professor, and she said, "Why don't we at least get you extra time on tests?" And I
Mhm.
was able to pass her class. I didn't do well in it, but I passed it, and I passed all my other classes. And I was happy. I had an associate's degree. I moved out on my own for a while. I love being independent because I'm not able to drive because of my disability, and I was working temp jobs. And I really enjoyed having that independence, but I still struggle with that purpose. And I just wanted more for myself.
Mhm.
And be careful what you wish for, as the old adage goes.
Mhm.
I had to move back in with my parents for financial reasons,
Mhm.
and my job was downsizing. So I thought, well, this is the perfect time to go back to school.
Yeah.
And this time I carefully researched programs. I found the program that had the least amount of math and science possible, had a program that I loved,
Mhm.
and it had disability accommodations. And
Wow.
this time I used them. I had a note taker, I had extra time on tests,
Mm.
and I also advocated for myself. I would go up to a professor and I would say, "Hi, my name is Michelle. I have a learning disability. These are the programs I'm going to need." And most professors were so kind and helpful and did everything they could do to be of assistance. And then other ones, they didn't quite get the memo, but that was
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
And my grades improved dramatically. And I made
Wow.
Dean's List first semester, and I
Wow.
was able to graduate with a bachelor's degree despite being told I couldn't do it. And after college, during that time, I also met my husband,
Mhm.
and we got married a few years later. And that was actually one of the things that really inspired me to write. I can remember, as I said, writing was always healing. And I belonged to a writers group. And people in the group told me when I was a teenager, you really should write about having a learning disability. And I said,
Yeah.
oh, no, that's too personal. So I put that
Mhm.
on the shelf for a number of years. And I finally got that courage to write about it when I could not open our door up in our house that we bought. And there was a call on the mighty for what's a seemingly easy task for others, but it's really hard with your disability. So I wrote about that, and I got such a great response
Wow.
that I started to write more articles for them and started to write for other places and started my blog, Michelle's Mission, where I write about my life with a learning disability. And I also feature my photography.
Oh, cool.
I That was another thing that came about. Someone in my writing group noticed years ago that I had perspective. I remember taking a picture at prom of trees, and all my peers
Mhm.
asked me, "Why'd you take a picture of a tree?" And this older woman said, "Ah, this shows perspective."
Hmm.
And I thought, I'm not an artist, so I put that on the shelf for a number of years.
Mhm.
And I can remember I was at a wedding and we stopped at a cemetery on the way home, and there was these angel statues, and I took a picture of an angel at the cemetery, and a friend saw it and said, "Wow, these are amazing." And this friend did not use flattery at all. And I thought, wow, she thinks it's good. It must be good. And I
Right.
entered them into a show, and I got an honorable mention. So that just encouraged me to
Yeah.
be able to, I started taking more pictures and entering into more shows. And then I figured out when I go on my walks, I'm able to notice details that other people will miss because they're busy driving. So people will say, "Will you
Mm.
bring out the details in a flower that I would miss?" So that gives me that opportunity every single time to literally stop and smell the roses and to notice those details. And it also took me a while to find my job as a paraeducator. There are a lot of places claim they were disability friendly, but they were anything but that. So today I work as a teacher's aide in a school, and I
Wow.
love doing that. I work with seventh graders this year, and
Oh,
I
wow.
just find, yeah, a lot of
That's
times it's like
tough.
you're,
That's tough in its own right.
it can be, but it's also really rewarding too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep,
My daughter, my youngest, she's in 8th grade, and,
nice.
she's always really struggled in school. She was in French immersion, from kindergarten
Hmm.
on, and then in grade 2 was COVID, and so now she's sent home, and she's learning online a language she actually really doesn't understand with a mom who doesn't speak it. So how do I help her? So then next year I thought, "I'm gonna put her in English." Well, she doesn't know how to read because all they learn up until that point is French. So at 8 years old, when she should be reading and writing, she couldn't do any of that. So she's always been a little bit behind. And
Hmm.
that was tough. And then it really did start to weigh on her self-esteem as well. Because why can my friends do all this and I can't? Things just don't come easy for her. And honestly, I've never had her tested, but I would venture to guess that there are some learning disabilities there. And
Right.
quite often she gets overshadowed by not only her friends, but her sister who gets like straight A's and everything. And I mean, being the younger sibling, also you kind of get swept aside
Right.
anyway. So I'm really trying lately to understand more because again, like I was the same as my older one. Everything came easy to me. And my brother was like my youngest, where, he didn't understand if
Mhm.
someone told him how to do something, like he needs to be shown how to do something, not told how to
Right.
do something. And so now I'm trying to work with my daughter in ways when I'm just like, go read a book. And she's like, I hate reading. It might not be because she doesn't like reading. It might be because she literally doesn't understand what she's reading.
Exactly. She might have some difficulties with that, and sometimes even
Comprehension.
audiobooks
Yeah.
might be a great way too. I mean, at least it
Yeah.
gets them into reading and it still counts as that. And yeah, to listen to a
Well, and I
story.
think the cool thing about audiobooks
Mhm.
as well is even if you're not reading, you're
Yeah,
still able to use your imagination, which is
exactly.
something a lot of kids aren't really doing right now because of
Right.
how much like screen time and stuff they're getting
Mhm.
and all that like constant stimulation. But they're able to use their imagination. They're able to picture scenes in their mind,
Right.
descriptor words and stuff. I do
Mhm.
still think audiobooks are incredibly helpful for people.
Definitely. That's a great thing to yeah, to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, and another thing, it was interesting. I never took a foreign language whenever I was in school because I
Mhm.
can remember that my learning support teacher in ninth grade. We typically students will take a language in high school,
Mhm.
and she said, "I have never seen anybody in ninth grade that's been successful with taking a foreign language that had a learning disability."
Oh, wow.
So we never ventured down that route. I mean,
Mhm.
I think it would have been a struggle, but I mean, I think it might have been, well, it certainly wouldn't have been math. So I think it might have been a little easier than that. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's just that's amazing.
I know for me in high school, I hated math.
Hmm.
I still hate math, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
It just didn't compute for me. I was really
Yep.
good at the
Doesn't do it.
English and the social studies,
Hmm.
history, whatever, but math science was not my jam. So I actually did take a language, like I took
Okay.
German, and I found it very easy. So I have encouraged my daughter, once you get to high school, maybe try
Right.
a language because
Yeah.
maybe if you're not the math science kind of girl, like maybe your brain works a little bit differently. And you know what? If that's no good for her, then that's okay too. It's like you really don't need German as a
Right.
Canadian. It's not like I've ever used it, but
Exactly. And then she tries, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, you
yeah,
can at least say you tried.
yeah.
I had a student last year that he really liked taking. He has a disability. He really liked taking German. In fact, that was his goal last year, was to be a German teacher someday. I don't know if that's
Oh
going to
wow.
happen now, but I mean, some students really like it, and I think everybody deserves to have that opportunity.
Mhm. Well, I know for my younger one, as soon as she
Hmm.
understood that art school actually even existed, she's a fantastic artist, but when she learned that art school exists, that really motivated her. All of a
Hmm.
sudden, it was like, "I think I wanna go to college," because before it was never that. "No, I don't wanna go to school. I don't even wanna go to school now. Why would I wanna go for
Right.
X amount more years?" And so now that she's realized, yeah, you can take fine arts in college. You can do do very well, be very successful. That really got her excited to go to school.
Yes, and I think that's what we have to really work on, is what's going to get that person motivated,
Yes.
because what do they want to do, and how to find a way to do that.
Mhm.
And it's okay to sometimes say, well, you might want to consider this as a backup plan. But we really want to encourage them to have to go out and to find that purpose. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I really try to encourage a lot of my students to advocate,
Yes.
because for a lot, all of them are going to end up leaving me someday, and I hope and pray that all of them are able to get every dream that they want to come true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But their disabilities are still going to be there. So it's so
Mhm.
important now that we show them how to be able to handle that.
Mhm. Well, I think we've always kind of lived
Mhm.
well, historically, we've lived in a world where you don't get to be different. You need to be that clone of
Yep.
each other. And this is
Mhm.
the way it is. This is social norms.
Right.
This is status quo. This is what you do. And these are, your science and math sort of
Yeah. Mhm.
central business, right? And now I think it's very cool that we're branching out into a place where you can make a career off of art. I mean, heck,
Mhm.
look at all these people who have social media careers. I mean,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
before it was like, maybe you wanted to be a Hollywood actor, and is like, how
Right.
few and far between was that? But now it's like you're seeing all these different avenues
Yeah.
of careers that are very fulfilling for people. It isn't just, hey, you're going to be an accountant and that's that. You're going to be a doctor. And I do think a lot of kids are
Mhm.
pressured by their parents to
Right.
be that. Hey, you're going to be a doctor. I think I actually talked about this on last week's episode
Mhm.
where I said to my parents, I think I want to be a hairdresser. Like I loved it. I was so good in cosmetology in high school. And my dad said, set your sights higher than hair. And because I was good at most, maybe not math, but I was
Right,
good at
right.
everything else, right? And
Well, I mean,
I'd always talked about being a lawyer. That was always my plan. And
mhm.
then when high school was ending, hey, I think I want to be a hairdresser. No, set your sights higher than that. So I never did it. It was something I loved and I never did it. And years later, he said to me, how come you never became a hairdresser? You were always so good at it. I was like, are you joking? Are you joking? And so really, like, and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty rebellious when it comes to the things my parents want for me, but like I always remembered that. And so I never became a hairdresser because I almost didn't want to let my parents down. And
Right.
now it's like I've always been a creative person. Why didn't I do
Mhm.
that? I could have been a career I really loved.
Right, and you'd have a service-based industry, and
Yeah,
people pay to get their hair done, and
seriously.
that is something and it definitely requires a lot of creativity to be able to do that,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
to and that's definitely people skills. I mean, and you even, like, I'll have girls that'll say, "Well, why do I have to learn how to do this in science? I just wanna be a hairdresser."
Yeah.
And I said, "Do you realize when you're doing, people's hair and I mean, you're doing color, you're pretty much you have to, mix the
Oh, it's math
formula
and
according to that.
science.
You're doing
Yes.
math, you're
Yes.
doing chemistry,
Mhm.
and it's just you're getting those all those colors in there, and you have to match that up,
Mhm.
and you have to figure out how much acid, all those things
Yeah.
have to be you have to know that.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for people who do hair because they are
Mhm.
doing a lot of those skills, and it requires a lot.
Mhm. My older daughter, again,
Mhm.
brilliant child, great grades. She
Mhm.
she's recently started saying, I'm tired. I'm tired of school. I think I'm just going to marry rich. That's going to be my career. And I go, well, that's great. No, more power to you. But in the meantime, let's think about whatever. And so, she might want to be a physiotherapist. And I think that's fantastic. It's like maybe let's set our sights a little bit higher than just marrying rich, because for majority of us, that does not happen. Uh, but I really
Mhm.
am just encouraging them to do what makes them happy. And if that's physiotherapy, awesome. If she wants to be a
Yep.
teacher, that's great. If she wants to be an athlete, a professional athlete, she wants to try for it. That's tough,
Mhm.
but more power to you, you know?
Exactly. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So what do you write about since you're a writer?
What I try to do is I'll do some nature analogies of what life is
Mm,
like with a learning disability. I might talk about the process of my flower is like, or excuse me, my disability is like a flower that's blooming, or I love butterflies. So I might
mm,
talk about the transformation power of how I've transformed
yes.
from that person with a disability that, wasn't very positive and just had a lot of doubt, and to that person that does have confidence today. And I try to make that simple so a person with a disability can understand that and can look
Mhm.
at it and say, oh, I relate to that. And I also try to make it so other people can understand, well, what are learning disabilities and what are they like?
Yeah, because for a lot of us, we don't
Hmm.
we don't understand, right? For
Right.
all for those of us who things seem to come easy to, we
Hmm.
certainly wouldn't understand. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, and I'm noticing this again with all aspects. I have 2 daughters. Their birthdays
Right.
are, 2 years, but 2 days apart. So it's like everything was the same for them. And then I started seeing them branch in much different ways. I have a sporty and book smart child. I've got a super artsy, casual child. I have a high-strung child. I have a laid-back child. And it's like,
Right.
okay, how do I, as a mom who leans
Hmm.
more this way, how do I support both of them equally and in different ways? And my older one even says, why does the younger one, when she plays sports, why is she doing just like recreational sports? Why doesn't she do competitive sports? And I have to explain to her, everyone is different. Not
Yes.
everyone has this drive for gold. Some people
Right.
are happy doing what they're doing, hanging out with their friends, playing
Mhm.
more casually. Not everyone is trying to get into the Olympics, right?
Exactly.
Not
Yep.
everyone is trying to get a doctorate. Some people just want to paint pictures for the rest of their life,
Yep.
and all is great. Every one of it is great. It doesn't make you happy because how many of us literally work jobs that we hate for majority of our lives? Everyone seems to have this big plan in childhood. You know, I want
Mhm.
to be a cop. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a doctor. I want to be
Right.
whatever. And then we end up in some like office job that we hate. And I
Yep.
see that from
Exactly.
my own experience.
I hear you.
Right? You just get pushed into it. I wanted to be a veterinarian and then I wanted to be a lawyer. Like those were my big life goals. That's what I wanted to be. For 10 years, I did purchasing for construction companies. And don't get me wrong, I liked all the people I worked with. I
Mhm.
liked being good at my job, but I didn't like the jobs. You know, I didn't
Right.
love what I was doing. I didn't dream of all these things as a child to go buy toilets for buildings, you know? Like there was nothing fulfilling about it. And after, you know, in 2023 when I got cancer and now I'm
Mhm.
out of it, it was like, do I really want to go back to a life of mundane work that I hate? Or do I want to do something that I love, that's creative, that helps people? And so that led to me going back to school at almost 40 years old. I went and took schooling and not formal, like I didn't go to university or anything, but I took courses and now I have,
Mhm.
for me, a successful little business. And
That's awesome.
it took a lot of confidence because quite honestly, I was like, especially post chemotherapy and all the other treatments that I went through, it really
Right.
messes with your brain. It messes with your body. It messes with your brain. It messes with your ability to think properly. It really is
Right.
poison in your body. And I would cry. I would be at home and I would cry and I would say like I don't remember things. And I had such a great memory leading up to cancer. And all of a sudden, I couldn't remember people's names. People I've known for years, couldn't remember their names, couldn't remember appointments, couldn't remember to take my
Mhm.
kids places. And it was like, how are you ever going to go back to school? How are you going to get a career? How are you going to go back to the job you had and crunch
Right.
numbers? Like it was really hard on the self esteem. And you know what? I just started doing things that would train my brain again. I would take little online courses. I would play games like puzzle games. And it's silly. My
Mhm.
husband would be like, "Why are you on your phone all the time playing games?" And I'm like, "Listen, I'm strengthening my brain. Just
Right.
over here." Right? And eventually it got to the point where I got the confidence to go do it. I flew to my program cross
Mhm.
country a month after my treatment ended and I just did it and it was so much information, so much science. Again, that's not my jam. I'm more of the artsy kind of girl, but like I filled my mind with all this biology and it just stuck.
Right.
And all of a sudden I had this confidence that I've never had before because look at me. I actually know a lot about biology.
There you go. You you do.
But even at 40, like, I mean, you help kids, grade 7 is a very impressionable age, but also really hard on the self-esteem in their age.
Right.
But at me at 30, I think I was 37 at the time, like,
Mhm.
the amount of confidence I did not have to do
Right.
those things. And I've never been told that I couldn't do things, right? I've always been told I can do things and I still had zero confidence when it came to it. So honestly, I can't imagine for you, especially being told for your entire life, you're never going to do this. And then
Yeah,
you overcame.
exactly. Yes.
So awesome. Like you just must have such a sense of pride.
I am very grateful for everything that I've been able to accomplish.
Mhm.
And I know I couldn't have done that on my own. I was
Mm,
really blessed to have parents that definitely supported me and advocated for me and didn't give up on me. I have a great group of friends that were able to stand by me during a lot of that. I
mhm.
have a wonderful husband who is supportive with me having a disability,
Yes.
and I've also had some really great people too in my life. I can remember there was a student teacher when I was in high school, and she told me, "You can go to college because you know how to study." And I can't
Wow.
remember that woman's name, but when I was at school and it was really hard, that was the voice that would sometimes play in my head.
Yes. Well, we have a tendency to remember only the negative things that people say.
Right.
So it was really amazing that you could block out that and remember the good
Mhm.
stuff, because I feel like in those moments, for
Yeah.
me too, like I hear, actually, you're not good enough at that. No, actually, you're never going to do. Or, it's like, you're not pretty enough.
Mhm.
You're not skinny enough. You're not whatever enough.
Right.
And so I think
Mhm.
it's really cool that you were able to hone in on the positive people in your life. And good on
Yes.
that teacher, that person that told you that. That's when I hear stories of people whose teachers are like, you're never going to
Mhm.
amount to anything. You'll never go to college. You're going to be in jail one day. Like there's actually a lot of people with these stories. And I'm thinking, why did you go into teaching if you wanted to treat children
Right.
like that?
Exactly. I agree.
So I think, the children that you are teaching and helping, like they're so blessed to have somebody, not only supportive like you, but also you're sympathetic because you've been there. It's like one thing to have empathy, but it's another
Mhm.
thing to have sympathy because you've lived it.
It really is because a lot of times I think that I understand what it's like for them to go through and
Mhm.
sit there as a seventh grader and to really struggle with a lot of that. And
Mhm.
all the kids know, do not ask me to help you with math or they'll soon find out.
Yeah, right.
And I think but that's a good thing though, because
Mhm.
for a lot of them, they need to know that other people still have things, and maybe
Yes.
grown-ups, there's things they can't do.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think is just so important. And I'm so much at peace with it. I'm no longer thinking that I'm incomplete because I can't do math or
Mhm.
something. Now I'm like, okay, I can't do that, and I'm all right with it. And I think it just really shows a lot of those kids. And then
Mhm.
sometimes I'll have some students who are really struggling in the classroom, and they'll say, "Mrs. Steiner, I need to get this done. Can I come to your room? Can you help me with this later on?" Or if I see a student that is not really getting the information, I'll tell them, okay, it's all right for now, but we're going to, as long as it's not math, you and I are going to meet up and we're going to go over this. And they'll come and they'll sit down. And I think because they know that I'm not going to judge them, a
Mhm.
lot of times I can get them to do some of this work.
Mhm. Now, are you employed right by the school itself?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a yep, permanent paraprofessional.
And then are you in all the like, in the classroom, or do you have your own special space where they come?
I am in the classroom. I have students that are in the general ed room
Mhm,
and they have like basic classes. Some have academic classes.
mhm.
And then I also am in a learning strategies classroom where we have a classroom teacher and I'm in her room for certain periods of the day.
Awesome. I know one thing that, at least where I live in Alberta,
Mhm.
something we're struggling with is this sort of funding for extra education for
Yep.
people. And for whatever reason, and don't get me wrong, like I do like our government here where I live.
Right.
Leans more conservative and I align with that more. But for whatever reason in a conservative government, it's like the first things to go are education and healthcare. And it's like those are probably not the places we should cut, you know?
Exactly, and that's the same way in the United States too that
Yeah.
we're seeing, and we're having a lot of lack of funding from
Mhm.
our government, and also even on a state level too. We have not had a budget that's been passed, so that is really impacting a lot of our students with education
It is.
and trying to. It's difficult.
Mhm.
I agree with you. I mean, I think if I had a wish, it would be that we would be able to definitely have funding that could cover
Yeah.
more of us and
Yeah.
also to pay people fair, livable wages as well.
Hmm. Yeah, that's just it. All of our teachers
Mhm.
in the entire province are on
Yeah.
strike right now. My kids have not been to school in a month or just about a
Mhm.
month. There's talks it'll be this week. I don't know. We will see. And it's because they want those wages and they want
Right.
more assistance. There's no reason why you should have 30 kids in the class, and if 5 of them have
Yeah.
learning disabilities, that the teacher should be focused on all that. Now, I don't know what
Right.
the answer is. I don't
Right.
know if that's, all those kids who do have disabilities get people like you to
Mhm.
work with them. That I mean, that would be ideal. I don't know why we can't
Right. I
look into
know.
that.
Yeah.
Um, so it is frustrating for parents. It's frustrating for students. It's frustrating for teachers. Like, and I'm sure on the other
Yeah,
end,
yeah.
play devil's advocate, it's frustrating for the government too, thinking where are we going to
Yes.
find this money? So we're
Great.
really at a standstill right now, and it just sucks that
Mhm.
the ones who are really like paying for this right now are the kids.
Definitely, that you're right about that.
So, and I've kind of just let my kids take it as, again, my older one, not worried about, whatever, she'll be fine. My younger one, I've kind of just let her rest because there was a lot of anxiety going into school.
Mhm.
First of all, I'm not in classes with any of my friends. Number two, like I really don't know how to do any of the math that's coming my way. And it's like she did a month of school and then now they're on strike. So I'm kind of just letting her just hang out. I'm not too focused on it. Don't worry about it. You will get caught up again.
Yes.
And if that means we do have to do some stuff over the summer, over Christmas, we will. But for right now, it's like just take that anxiety break, just relax, see your friends, because eventually you'll be right back in it, back into the grind.
Exactly. No, that's great advice.
Yeah. And I mean, she's sleeping lots too.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing for someone who has a disability of any sort, if you're also going on no sleep as well, which a lot of these kids do, I like
Mhm.
my kids never sleep. I don't get it. Then they're exhausted. And how can you possibly think that your brain is going to fire the way you need it to
Mhm.
if you had 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep?
Right. Exactly.
So if this kid sleeps 12, 13, 14 hours, I honestly don't care. Do it. Catch up, my girl.
Yeah,
So,
of course, that's good.
so
Yes, sometimes the rest is good too.
totally. We're like a very busy society. And then, like, for kids, you've got all this like new learning and friend time,
Mhm.
socializing time. You got sports on top of it, clubs. I'm divorced from their dad. So go spend time with your dad, go spend time with your
Mhm.
grandparents. You got three sets of grandparents. Like, it's chaos for these kids. So just right now, just sleep. I'm okay with it. Just sleep. We can worry about learning soon. Well, anyways, you are amazing. You are honestly
Thank
such
you.
an inspiration. And I'm so thankful that you are here to share your story.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure with having this conversation.
Why don't you tell people where they can read your blog?
Sure, you can find me at my blog, www.michellesmission.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Under Michelle's Mission?
I do have
Or
a Michelle's Mission, yes, and then Steiner 7250 on
okay,
Instagram. Yep.
awesome. Well, thanks again. I can't wait for this episode to come out so people can hear it and feel inspired like I am.
Thank you so much.
Love her. Love her inspiration. I love her drive. And I also love what she's doing for children. Again, as a mom of teenagers, I am so thankful to people like this because if someone asked me to go into a classroom and teach a bunch of seventh graders, not a chance. No, I can barely even like teach my kid how to do things. So I value people who have a heart for this as well. We need more people like you, Michelle, honestly. So be back with us next week. I am interviewing somebody who runs an animal shelter, a rescue out of Calgary, who brings in animals from all over the world, but primarily from the South, whether that's the States or Mexico or Dominican. So that will be really exciting. So we are here every Thursday. I'm pretty bad at posting consistently, but around 8 a.m. Mountain Time on Thursdays is where you can find my show. Of course, you can find us also on, and I don't know why I'm saying us, I'm one person. You can find me on Rhode Island Broadcast as well, who plays my show every Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Time as well. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week.